Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are strapping on our emotional armor, maybe, stepping off the main road because we are journeying deep into a zone that feels less like a landscape and more like, well, like a pervasive, crippling sense of dread. We're talking about Duskwood.
Yeah, forget your sunny fields.
Absolutely, forget Elwyn Forest. We're talking thick, light-devouring black fog, the kind that smells like mildew and maybe grave dirt. Gnarled skeletal trees that honestly look like they're writhing in pain, and this eternal, chilling twilight. The sun just never seems to grant any real warmth or hope there.
It feels active, not passive.
Exactly. If you've ever walked those paths, you know this land isn't just passively dark, it feels hostile. It's like it wants you to fail, wants you to despair.
And what's really striking is how geographically central this terror is. It makes it unavoidable for the Kingdom of Stormwind. Duskwood sits right there, south-central Eastern Kingdoms.
Right, smack in the middle.
Yep. Directly south of the relative comfort of Elwyn Forest. East of the dusty plains of Westfall. It's the really unsettling doorway west of Deadwind Pass.
Which is creepy in its own right.
Oh, absolutely. And then south, you hit the humidity of Stranglethorn Vale. So it's like this geographic heart of misery for Stormwind. Yeah. A poison thorn just stuck right in its side.
And our mission today, well, it isn't just about listing the ghouls and the giant spiders, though we'll get there. We need to uncover the layered, really complex history that took this peaceful green place, Brightwood it was called.
Yeah, Brightwood.
And turned it into this cursed perpetual night. It wasn't just one thing. It was like this catastrophic cocktail.
Yeah.
Deep corruption from old gods, cosmic meddling by corrupted guardians, some ancient night elf mistakes that cracked the foundations of reality.
And just profound human tragedy stacked one layer on top of another.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's unpack this.
So to really grasp the depth of this curse, we kind of have to rewind. Way back, we're talking 10,000 years ago, after the Great Sundering ripped Kalimdor apart.
Right, the original supercontinent.
This was when the Night Elves were dominant. Their golden age of magic and druidic power. And it was all anchored by those three huge blessings on the World Tree, Nordrasil, up on Mount Hudgel.
Yeah, those weren't just symbolic, were they? They were foundational. Alexstrasza, the life binder, gave it vigor, making sure life just flourished. Then Ysra, the dreamer, she granted the druids basically free passage into the Emerald Dream, which before that took like intense, lifelong meditation to even glimpse.
Right, a massive shortcut, really. And maybe the most fateful one, Nos Dormu, the timeless one, granted them immortality.
The big one.
Yeah, the ultimate gift, right. As long as the tree stood and the pact held, this power let them build this huge, formidable empire. But maybe it also gave them a bit of a dangerous sense of, permanence.
Yeah.
Invulnerability, almost.
But even back then, in this seemingly perfect, blessed era, something else was stirring, something much older and darker, right? You mentioned that cocktail of curses. The first ingredient was there before anyone knew.
Exactly. So we jump forward about 5,500 years to roughly 4,500 years ago. This strange, dark, kind of pernicious substance starts popping up across Azeroth Serenite.
Ah, yes.
And we know now this weird, black, porous metal, it's crystallized black blood. The blood of the old god Yogg-Saron.
Chilling.
Yeah. Even though Yogg-Saron was supposedly locked away way up north in Ulduar, his, malevolent influence was just seeping out through these mineral deposits. It could corrupt mines, materials, anything it touched.
So this wasn't just some local issue. It was like a cosmic infection spreading silently. And Brightwood, before it was Duskwood, was one of the places hit by these Serenite deposits. Just sitting there, leaching darkness into the soil, into the plants, thousands of years before any human showed up.
And this spreading corruption, understandably, really alarmed Fandral Stelhelm. He was a big deal back then. A prominent, venerable night elf druid in the Cenarian Circle. The threat of an old god's influence creeping across the world, that was existential.
Okay, so here's where we get that first big act of hubris, maybe, that has consequences thousands of years later. Instead of going through the proper channels, the circle, Steghelm just decided to handle it himself. Urgency, maybe arrogance.
Probably a bit of both.
Yeah.
He secretly took 6 enchanted branches from Nordrasil itself, consecrated them, and planted them strategically across the Serenite-plagued areas. Yeah. And one of those branches landed right here in Brightwood, in the spot we now call the Twilight Grove. Right. These 6 branches grew into these powerful, localized great trees. And at first it looked like a huge success. They purged the Serenite from the immediate areas.
He even planted the biggest one up in Northrend, right? That became Androssil, the huge world tree in Grizzly Hills.
Yeah.
So, problem identified, secret magic deployed, land healed. Looks like a win for Staghelm.
You'd think so, but no. Far from it. This solo healing act, it was actually the first domino to fall in the total corruption of Brightwood, and honestly, a major factor in later cosmic disasters.
Oh.
Well, if you connect the dots, Staghelm's fix created this massive, unseen vulnerability. By planting pieces of the Blessed World Tree outside the sanctioned protected areas, he essentially created these incredibly powerful but totally unsecured magical conduits.
Wait, hang on. Are you saying the Night Elves themselves accidentally laid the groundwork for Duskwood's susceptibility? That they created the flaw that let everything else in later?
Pretty much, yeah.
Huh.
Yogg-Saron exploited these great trees. They were like ready-made pipelines directly into the Emerald Dream for him.
Oh, wow.
That's how the old gods spread the seeds of corruption, infected the dreamways, twisted the druids' visions, and ultimately created the horror that is the Emerald Nightmare. Brightwood's Twilight Grove became a permanent gateway for the nightmare itself.
That's deeply ironic. The cure became the curse's entry point. And those dragons in the nightmare, guarding the portals, they were guarding the gates Stockhelm accidentally built. So the land was fundamentally compromised by Night Elf actions thousands of years before the first human settlers even arrived.
Exactly. Ancient, primal corruption baked right in.
Okay, so let's fast forward through millennia. The Night Elves fade a bit, human history kicks off in the south. About 1,200 years ago, you have human tribes splitting off from Arathor, heading south. Noble families from Strom, led by Falric, settle a valley found Stormwind.
Right, and as Stormwind grew, settlements naturally spread out. Into Elwyn, into Westfall. And Brightwood got its share too, including this quiet little town called Grand Hamlet. Just a peaceful farming and trade spot.
Things seem stable, but then the fate of this beautiful, though secretly tainted region slammed right into the destiny of Azeroth's most powerful and most doomed mage.
Enter Medivh, son of the previous guardian, Egwin. He was meant to protect Azeroth, but Stormwind's expansion pushed him into conflict, especially with the Gurubashi trolls down in Stranglethorn, bordering Brightside.
Great conflicts were fierce, right?
Oh, yeah. The trolls were tough, but Medivh, even young, unleashed terrifying power on them, just decimated their armies outside Stormwind's new gates. And that intense power probably didn't help his own deteriorating mental state.
And then his mother guided him to Khorasan. That tower Egwin built in secret like 600 years before the First War, right on the edge of the region. And it was there, with Moraz his Castellan, that Medivh finally fell completely under Sargeras' control.
Sargeras, the Dark Titan, leader of the Burning Legion, who'd been possessing Medivh basically since birth.
Right.
And this is where the human tragedy in Brightwood just explodes. We go from ancient cosmic issues to immediate, brutal, demonic violence. Medivh, totally mad, possessed, hosted these banquets at Khorasan. When Egwin finally confronted him during their struggle, he just unleashed.
It was horrific, wasn't it? The sources describe it as him just draining the life force from nearby humans indiscriminately, a side effect of his possession, and among those victims, nobles, citizens from Grand Hamlet, a huge, devastating loss for that peaceful town, caused by the realm's supposed protector.
The horror didn't stop there. During the First War, Grand Hamlet was besieged and eventually destroyed by orc raiding parties pushing north. But the final permanent transformation, that happened at the end of the Second War.
When Medivh finally died, killed by Anduin Lothar, his old friend, and Khangar, his apprentice, but killing a guardian possessed by Sargeras, the fallout was immense.
Absolutely catastrophic. The sheer volume of raw, unstable fell energy that erupted from Khorasan when Medivh died, it didn't just vanish, it surged outwards. Instantly corrupted Deadwind Pass, turned it into that lifeless wasteland we see today.
Yeah.
But the blast, the corruption, it was so vast, so potent, it seeped directly into neighboring Brightwood. It twisted the land into this dangerous, thorn-choked path, plunging it into permanent, suffocating darkness. The plants died, the rivers turned murky, and that perpetual twilight sealed its new name, Duskwood.
So the landscape itself is like a memorial to that cosmic fight. And the fell energy, it didn't just taint the air, right? It warped the actual life there, those forest spiders, the ones that are basically harmless in Elwyn.
Yeah, they underwent these grotesque mutations, swelled up to monstrous sizes, like spiders the size of ponies, became these lurking, venomous predators.
Okay, so now you've got a place already touched by old god stuff, then completely saturated with felon energy, living under permanent night. The land itself is just triply cursed.
But what really defines Duskwood, I think, isn't just the list of curses. It's the stubborn human refusal to just give up and leave.
Yeah.
Despite the eternal night, people clung on. Darkshire rose from Grand Hamlet's ruins, rebuilt with help from Supreme Commander Trellion. It was like this defiant act against the terror.
And that's how it got its name, Darkshire, a shire defined by the dark. But things weren't stable for long. When King Varian vanished, Stormwind Lady Katrana Prester's manipulations...
Onyxia, yeah.
Right, led to Stormwind pulling its troops out. Suddenly, the locals were defenseless against everything crawling out of the shadows. Mutated wolves, those giant spiders, and the undead being raised by the necromancer Morbant Fell.
So they had no choice. They formed the Night Watch. Just locals, farmers, merchants, hunters, banding together to protect their homes. And they weren't just fighting normal stuff. They dealt with uniquely local horrors like Stitches.
Oh, Stitches the Abomination.
Yeah. Cobbled together by Abercrombie, that Ravenhill alchemist who went mad after his wife died. It's a place where grief itself literally becomes monstrous.
That weight of history, it wasn't just geographical, it was intensely personal. Especially for families living right next door to Karazhan, that demonic ground zero, the Dugan family tragedy. It perfectly captures the emotional cost. Shortly after the curse fell, people from Darkshire started disappearing, and the trail always led back to the tower.
So a rescue mission was formed, led by Dugan, a paladin of the Silver Hand, who'd settled in Duskwood with his wife, Adina, and their twin daughters, Leon and Lania. He went in with Cardan, a Weldhammer dwarf, and Venena, a high elf, followed the trail right into Karazhan's chilling halls.
But inside, more tragedy. Dugan, the paladin, died fighting Terestian Ilhoof, a corrupted satyr working for the Legion. Cardan and Venena barely got out alive. Imagine having to bring that news back to Adina in Darkshire.
The grief was just too much for her. She'd put up with the darkness, the fear, the blight. But losing her husband, it broke her. Her mind just failed. She couldn't care for the twins anymore. And eventually her despair led her to suicide.
Just heartbreaking. And because this is Duskwood, death is rarely the end, is it?
Nope. Her corpse was reanimated shortly after burial, became one of the very undead threatening the town. Cardan and Venena, thankfully, adopted the twins, raising them separately in safer places.
But the past catches up.
Always. When Lion, the warrior, and Lunonia, the mage, finally found each other years later, they learned the truth, and that set them on this grim quest. They tracked down their reanimated mom. Can you imagine the horror? Recognizing your own mom among the ghouls?
Unfathomable.
They managed to lay her tormented soul to rest, far away in the hinterlands. But they weren't done.
They had to go back to Karazhan for their father.
Exactly. To free his spirit. They eventually journeyed back, faced terrifying visions, and bravely defeated Ilhoof, their father's killer. A desperate fight for revenge.
Did they free him?
No. That's the cruel part. The suffering in Karazhan seems eternal. Dugan's spirit actually intervened to save them from an enchantment at the last second, which meant he remained bound to the tower, still suffering. His only solace, perhaps, was knowing his spirit hadn't been fully corrupted, just trapped, like the Night Watch, resilient but chained.
Wow. That story really hits home, the personal cost of these big cosmic struggles. How many other spirits are trapped there, like Morladdam, another absolute tragedy. Shows how grief itself becomes a weapon in Duskwood.
Morgan Lattimore. He was a renowned, noble knight, fought bravely through the Third War, saw the Silver Hand dissolve, faced the Scourge. He comes home to Brightwood, Duskwood, by then expecting peace, and finds his home destroyed.
Just ruins.
Spends hours searching Ravenhill Cemetery, finally finds the graves, his wife, 2 of his kids. The grief, the exhaustion, the rage. It just broke him. He went mad, started attacking the gravestones, and then attacked the cemetery workers who tried to stop him.
Not even realizing what he was doing.
Exactly. And the horror of killing innocent people. After everything he'd endured, he took his own life right there. His body was buried quickly to avoid more unrest. But again, Duskwood.
Death isn't the end.
His grave was disturbed, body vanished, cursed by grief, fell energy, the innocent blood on his hands. He rose as Morladdam, this towering, monstrous, undead figure haunting the cemetery, attacking the very people he once swore to protect.
But there's a sliver of light here, right?
Yeah.
Redemption.
Yeah, remarkably. His 3rd child, Sarah Lattimore, had survived. She later joined the Night Watch. When adventurers finally defeated Morladdam, Commander Enoch told Sarah the whole tragic story.
And Sarah.
She made this incredible choice. She gave the adventurers her wedding ring, a symbol that she was alive, that she had a future, and asked them to place it on her father's grave. That act of love, showing his life wasn't entirely in vain, finally allowed Morgan's spirit to find peace alongside his wife.
That's powerful. Redemption through love, even in the darkest place. It feels like a core theme, the human spirit pushing back.
It really is. And then you have the more mundane almost, but still horrific evil of Stalvin Mistmantle. Not a knight, just a school teacher from Silverpine, driven mad by obsession with his student Tova.
A really improper, unhealthy obsession.
Totally. She was pledged to someone else, but Stalvin had these delusions. It festered into jealousy and then homicidal rage. He murdered Tova and her fiancé with an axe.
Just brutal.
Covered in blood, completely unhinged, he fled south to his house in Duskwood Mistmantle Manor, near Darkshire. And there, consumed by loneliness and madness, he somehow cheated death. Maybe willpower, maybe a dark pact, who knows? He rose as an undead specter, a revenant, cursed to roam and kill.
And Madame Eva, the fortune-teller, she sensed him.
Yeah, she feared for her granddaughter Alyssa, which led adventurers to hunt Stalvin down. His evil was more localized, like a festering wound, compared to the big cosmic diseases.
He stuck around for a while, though.
He did, a persistent threat until the cataclysm. And his end was pure Duskwood irony. Killed not by a hero, but by his own brother, Tobias Mistmantle, who himself was cursed, afflicted by the Worgen curse.
A curse. Fighting a curse. Only in Duskwood.
Pretty much. Which brings us nicely to artifacts and how they just draw disaster to this place. This adds another layer. The curse of dangerous relics and the people who hunt them. Starting with the Dark Riders.
Right, Medivh's other curse.
Basically, yeah. They were originally traders who tried to cheat Medivh with fake magical items. Medivh, already influenced by Sargeras and not exactly tolerant of being ripped off when it came to magic, he cursed them.
What was the curse exactly?
An eternal, terrifying sentence. Relentlessly hunt down authentic, powerful magical artifacts across the land, no matter the cost, and bring them back to Karazhan. Their bodies are bound to this task forever. Are they undead? Something else. Still kind of unclear. But they plague Stormwind, especially Duskwood, whenever a powerful artifact surfaces.
And what draws them to Duskwood specifically in this case?
The Scythe of Elune, one of those powerful and fundamentally dangerous artifacts ever made, created way back by Night Elves Beastra Starbreeze and Rala Fangir. They wanted to harness primal power.
How did they make it?
They took a massive fang from Goldrin, the wolf ancient, Logosh, and attached it to Beastra's staff. The goal was to control the wild, volatile druid pack form, but Goldrin's power. It was too much. Rala and his followers embraced the scythe's savage energy, and it backfired, hugely. It permanently twisted them into the first Worgen. Savages, lost to their primal instincts, unable to shift back.
That was the origin, wow.
Yeah, Malfurion had to banish them beneath Darnassus, hoping they'd sleep forever, sealed away. The scythe itself eventually got lost, passed around, faded into legend, until it resurfaced in Duskwood.
Of course it did.
And the scythe's power, it inherently weakens the barriers between time and space. It's like a beacon for rifts, which is why it causes chaos. Its fate got tied to Duskwood when Valinda Starsong found it and brought it south. As she used its power, the barriers weakened even more, drawing the Worgen who Archmage Rugal had already summoned back to Azeroth elsewhere, straight to Duskwood.
So the convergence point, once again, is this blighted forest. There was a fight at Roland's Doom Mine.
Right. Valinda and her attackers were killed in an explosion, burying the scythe. Later, it was found by Jitters, this nervous, defiant guy working in a mining crew down there.
And the moment he touched it?
Boom. He unwittingly triggered its summoning power. Massive Worgen invasion erupts, tears the miners apart. Jitters panics, grabs the weapon, and flees. But critically, the temporal weirdness caused by the scythe. It alerted the Dark Riders.
Ah, the artifact hunters arrived.
And they showed up at the Jorgen farmstead. Drawn by the disruption, they just slaughtered Sven Jorgen's family right in front of Jitters. He escaped, but the cycle was spinning again. Ancient artifacts, relentless pursuit, brutal violence.
Which led to more conflict.
Oh, yeah. Alpha Prime, who used to be the Night Elf for Rala Fangir and now leader of the fanatical wolf cult, came down to grab the scythe and plan an attack on Darnassus. This drew in new players, pulled by the overlapping tragedies.
Like Revel cost.
Exactly. A priest seeking revenge because Worgen killed his family, and Karen, a mage looking for his missing son, Mardigan, who'd vanished investigating the cult. They teamed up, chasing the Dark Riders who'd just stolen the hand of Adol from their contact.
So how did they stop the cycle this time?
Well, interestingly, they finally used the cursed artifact strategically. Revelcost's group found Jitters, learned the scythe was back at Roland's Doom, but the wolf cult already had it. After a bloody fight with the cultists, Revel got the scythe back.
And then?
On advice from Stormwind intelligence, Revel used the scythe as bait, set an ambush for the Dark Riders, and it worked. The artifact was secured by the Alliance, handed off to a Night Elf contact. So, temporary peace, hard won.
Yeah.
But the Worgen threat, the Dark Rider threat, they're endemic to Duskwood now.
It just never ends there, does it? The curses are cyclical, the Cataclysm Deathwings return, more upheaval, more instability, and during that time, the Karen family, the ones looking for their son.
They dedicated themselves to fighting it all. Worgen, demons, the undead.
And some old threats literally came back from the dead. Again, Morbent fell. The necromancer who started the undead plague in Darkshire, he returned as a powerful lich.
A renewed major danger. But history kind of repeated, thankfully, with a final resolution this time. Adventurers had to find and fix the holy artifact, more in vain, the Torch of the Holy Flame.
The same artifact used to beat him the first time.
Yep, they used it to break his magic shield, defeat him again. And then, powerfully symbolic, the torch was placed outside his old house, used by Watcher Sarah Lattimore, Morlatim's daughter, to keep the local undead subdued.
And what about Sven Jorgen, the farmer who lost his family?
The Scythe's legacy hit him directly. He became a Worgen himself. But remarkably, he managed to use alchemy to regain his sanity, control the curse. Now he operates out of Ravenhill, guiding adventurers, trying to figure out Phila's return, protecting the town he lost so much for.
That continuity of tragedy and resilience, it really is the core story. But then the Night Watch itself, the bastion of defense, suffered this massive internal blow during the Legion's big invasion.
And this is genuinely shocking. Commander Aelia Enoch, who led them faithfully, defected. Along with several other Watchers and Council members, they joined the Veiled Hand.
A human cult working with the Burning Legion.
Exactly. The betrayal from within, from the people sworn to protect Darkshire. That might be the deepest wound the community ever faced.
Why? Why would they do it?
It's still a bit murky. Speculation is they were promised power, freedom, respect by the Herald, a Legion-aligned figure. They performed horrific demonic rituals right outside town, using the blood and skulls of Darkshire folk to fuel an invasion. It just speaks to how corrosive the despair in Duskwood can be, that even protectors break that badly.
But not all of them broke.
No. Sarah Lattimore stood firm. Protected innocence, believing her comrades were maybe magically coerced, not truly evil. Aelia Enoch eventually got what she deserved, assassinated in Stormwind by the Uncrowned.
And Sarah stepped up.
Rightfully so. With the Watch purged, Sarah Lattimore became commander. Her family history is so deeply tied to the curse's father, a victim. She wields the artifact that subdued another curse. She's the perfect symbol of Duskwood's enduring spirit against impossible odds.
And the fight just goes on, endlessly. Later, during Death Rising, the Scourge hit Duskwood hard, meeting backup from Stormwind and the Argent Crusade. The commitment is unreal. We even see stories like Watchman Corn Willard retiring after 2 decades of service. Where does he go?
To the Dragon Isles, specifically looking for adventure, and, tellingly, sunshine, after 20 years in the gloom.
Wow, that says it all.
It really does. Duskwood's darkness isn't just one thing. It's this tapestry woven from so many disasters across time. Ancient old god Serenite contamination, Medivh's shattering felon energy creating the eternal night, the accidental Worgen resurgence via Night Elf pride in the Scythe, and the constant cycle of human tragedy feeding the undead ranks and driving leaders to betrayal.
It's the ultimate cursed laboratory, isn't it? Every major bad force, old gods, legions, Scourge, Worgen, they all find a foothold here. But the story is defined by the people who just refuse to leave, even when the entire cosmos seems against them.
Darkshire and the Night Watch are just pure tenacity. They replace their fallen, purged traitors, use sacred artifacts like Morin's Bane to hold the line. They're in a permanent defensive war, lit only by their own resolve and this belief that their home is worth the endless, grinding sacrifice.
And even as we wrap up, the story gets more complex. The Scythe of Elune, after being secured, it ended up with specialized druids from the Dream Grove, and Beaster Starbreeze and Valorn eventually brought it back to Duskwood.
Why?
To study the Worgen curse more deeply, basically examining the disease in its most concentrated, volatile hotspot.
Which raises the final, really profound question about this place, doesn't it? Duskwood has been the dumping ground for cosmic and human curses for millennia. They keep revisiting it, studying it, maybe temporarily taming parts of it. But if the darkness is always being poked and prodded, can it ever truly be cleansed? Can it go back to being Brightwood?
Or is it just destined to be this eternal testing ground for Azeroth's deepest tragedies, sustained only by the sheer willpower and sacrifice of its people?
A question only time, or maybe another dark chapter will answer.
Indeed. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the perpetual night of Duskwood. Stay vigilant out there.